In this video, I'm going to attempt to learn a British accent and fool British people into thinking I'm British. Will it work? Probably not. They'll probably be like, "You're not British, you wanker." But it probably won't be a total failure. Maybe I'll be able to fool them for a little while until they notice something's wrong. And even if I don't really succeed, I'll still learn a lot about British accents in the process. Notice I said British accents with an S. There are different regional accents spoken all over the UK, with local variations. And accents also differ depending on social factors like socioeconomic status. Rather than choose one of those many accents, I'll choose the one non-regional accent, RP, or Received Pronunciation. You might hear it referred to as the Queen's English, or BBC English. In past decades, it was the prestige accent, and was the standard accent used in media like the BBC. Its traditional form isn't spoken by many people these days, but I'll attempt to learn its modern incarnation, referred to as Modern RP, or Standard Southern English. If I focus on learning a fully RP accent, I might be setting a trap for myself in this video, because it might be more obvious that I'm putting on an accent. But I don't know where else to start, so I guess I'll start with RP. RP? More like RP. The first thing I need to do is make sure I know which sounds are different in RP and then practice those sounds. I can't practice them all at the same time because that would be a big mess, so I'm going to focus on each sound individually. Maybe this book will help. It teaches the individual sounds of RP one by one, so I can practice each one in isolation. Fast, rather, disaster. I'm also going to listen to a lot of modern RP by watching YouTubers who speak with that accent, so I can hear the sounds I've been practicing in natural speech. Alright, enough talking and preparation. I want to see how this goes, so let's give it a try. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
You from the UK?
Yes, I am.
You can see I've got the play button here. So I run a YouTube channel called Langfocus, which is all about languages. So if it's all right with you, I'd like to ask you a few trivia questions to see if you know the answers. Which language has the most native speakers around the world?
Most native speakers around the world.
Notice I said native speakers, not total number of speakers.
I would guess Chinese.
Chinese, right. It's Mandarin. English has the most total speakers, the largest number of speakers overall, including second language speakers.
Second language, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the official language of the UK?
Is this a trick question? So I'm tempted to say English, but maybe that might be wrong.
In law, there actually is no official language of the UK. All right, can I ask you one other question? This one's a bit out of left field. Based on the way I'm speaking, where do you think I'm from?
Maybe Germany.
Not the UK?
No.
No, okay. So something must be off about the way I'm
Like
speaking.
A slight accent.
So I enjoyed my chat with this British man, but I did not succeed in making him think that I'm British. When I listen to the recording, I can hear a few blatant mistakes in my pronunciation. For example, I said called instead of cold, ask instead of ask, and answer instead of answer. Obviously, that was my Canadian accent coming through. I got similar reactions from others. So, based on the way I'm speaking, where do you think I'm from?
Netherlands.
Netherlands, alright. Why do you say that?
Yeah, you sound Dutch.
I sound Dutch, alright. What do you think of the way I'm speaking? Does it sound off, or does it sound...
It sounds a bit off. It sounds a bit off, but straight from the back, I wouldn't say that you're not British. Like, I thought maybe you're something else. Maybe you're mixed, maybe Eastern European or something. No, not Eastern European. I'd say Swedish,
right.
Scandinavian countries. But having said that, it's not bad. It's alright.
None of their reactions were bad, and they seemed to assume I was a non-native speaker who had learned a British accent imperfectly, which is fine, of course. But I still want to improve my accent and make it as close to native as possible. So I've been listening back to these recorded conversations and noticing my mistakes, and then practicing those words and sounds in order to make them more habitual. They're not habitual yet, but that's my goal. Alright, I need to practice, but I also need to babysit, so can I speak to you in an RP accent? The following day I had some more encouraging reactions. If it's alright with you, I'd like to ask you a few questions to see if you know the answers. So, which language has the most native speakers in the world?
Oh, snap. Would it be English? Native, you said?
Native speakers. Not the total number of speakers, but native speakers specifically.
Would it be Mandarin? No.
Mandarin, yes, that's right. Yes, you got it.
Slap it.
Which foreign language has supplied more than half of our English vocabulary?
Oh, foreign language, yeah? How back are we talking?
Go back about 1,000 years, then you can...
1,000 years.
The language of a country that's not too far away from you.
See, because I want to say either like French or German.
Yeah, you're right. It's French.
I don't know.
It's French.
It's French.
You're
Oh,
right. It's French. All right, good job.
Okay.
All right, can I ask you one other question? This question is a
Of course.
bit different. So based on the way I'm speaking, where do you think I'm from?
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I probably shouldn't swear. It's not in Eastern Europe, is it?
I'm actually from Canada, but what I'm attempting to do during this chat is to put on a British accent as best as I can to see if I can speak with British people without them noticing that I'm affecting an accent. So this is my best attempt at an RP accent.
I was kind of like, in my head, I was kind of like trying to piece what city in the UK you were from, if that makes sense.
All right, yeah.
That was my first thought. I'm not going to lie to you. I just thought, this guy doesn't actually seem like he's from the UK, though.
Wow, that's interesting. At first, he was wondering what part of the UK that I'm from. That means that I sounded somewhat British, but that my accent wasn't strictly RP. Some of my Canadian pronunciation might have sounded like elements of a regional accent at first, but something about me seemed un-British. Hello.
Hey, Paul, 22. Do you know rule number 1 of the pirate code?
I don't know.
Do you want to know it?
Sure, go ahead.
Rule number 1 of the pirate code is to always have fun.
Always have
My
fun.
lady. Yeah.
Always have fun, alright?
What's your YouTube channel?
My YouTube, it's called Lang Focus. So I'll type it in the chat for
Wait,
you.
yeah.
It's called Lang Focus. As
He's
in,
famous. I see your play button in the background. How many languages do you know?
3 or 4, but I talk about all sorts of languages that I don't really speak. It's just I research them and then
Really?
talk about them in the videos.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
cool.
more like a research project for each one.
Did they get watched in schools?
Sometimes. Yeah, I get some messages from
that's
people who
pretty
say their teachers assigned the video as homework and that sort of thing.
That's pretty cool.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go on then.
So based on the way I'm speaking, where do you think I'm from?
I think you're from... Right, I feel like this is a trick question. I feel like you're not from England.
Okay, why do you say that?
I don't know. I just feel like you're not from England.
Is it based on the way I'm speaking, or is it like based
No,
on the
I
situation?
just feel like it's going to be like a trick, and you're not from England.
Okay.
So I think you're from Germany.
Yeah, I'm actually from Canada. But what I'm trying to do
Really?
I
at
was
the
going to
moment,
say that as well. I'm not even right.
I'm kind of trying out something new for this video, and I'm seeing if I can affect a British accent and speak to British people.
It's actually pretty good. Like, I only said not England because I thought it was a trick question, but it's actually a pretty good accent. Yeah. Whereabouts in like Britain though? Because there's like different accents everywhere.
Right. So I tried to imitate an RP accent.
You just got like a what is it? Just like an average accent, not an average, like you know where it's like
A neutral
I don't know
accent.
how to explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm attempting to do, but
Yeah,
Not
it's
sure.
pretty good.
this lad didn't seem to notice anything odd about my accent, even though I myself can hear some of my Canadian accent coming through. But I don't think he was listening for that, and the room he was in was quite noisy as well. So this day was going better than the previous one, but something still didn't feel right. The next day, I think I discovered why.
Why do you sound so posh?
Posh. Not bad, but posh. Was I speaking in a way that was inappropriate for the situation?
Why do you sound so posh?
So posh. I don't know, where do you think I'm from?
I don't know, I want to say like England, but at the same time I know you're not.
I told him about my challenge and asked him what he thought. So what,
I mean,
on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing? Is it like a
Decent, decent.
decent?
But I'd say, yeah, but if you're gonna like try and act like an Englishman, you gotta speak with that, like, the depth in your voice.
The depth in my voice, alright. So more like...
A little bit more deep, but still posh. Yeah, like, you can tell I'm English without a doubt, because how I'm talking, just like straightforward.
I think I was starting to understand why I wasn't really coming across as English. I had learned the sounds of an English accent, but had not really experienced what it feels like to speak as an English person. I realized that I had actually achieved my goal. I had learned a fake English accent rather than an authentic one. So I needed to shift my thinking and start aiming for a more authentic RP accent. So I booked a session with an accent and voice coach named Molly Parker, who works with actors in London. One thing she noticed was that some of the sounds I'd been practicing sounded more like traditional RP, or heightened RP, rather than the modern RP that's used today.
Great effort. So there are 2 sounds in there which I would say you've learnt in a more heightened way than you need to. The others just need ever so slight adjustments.
She coached me on individual sounds, but also focused on helping me relax my jaw and create more space in the mouth. This is part of creating the deeper or lower resonance that the previous young man had mentioned. But then our session went deeper as we spoke about how to step into an accent rather than focusing on each individual sound.
But when we're taking on an accent and we're thinking about authentic accent learning, to be able to do that in the body instinctively, like it's just coming from you in that authentic way, I think needs to be done A, with some sort of action or something physical that incorporates the body, or B, I will always ask clients and students to, can you describe the sensory feeling of that? So you said stuff like, it feels lighter, or it feels more natural when I emphasize this, or it feels like I'm lengthening this. What you're doing there is you're brilliantly matching up the part of your brain that is the intellectual with the part of the sensory. And so you're literally remapping your body into being able to take on those sounds in an authentic way.
So essentially what she's saying is that I need to practice the accent together with physicality, a certain type of body language or feeling in the body, and also imagery. For example, I tend to speak with very short vowels, and I tend to stop a lot while I'm speaking. So an image I can think of is a sustained, relaxing flow of water, like a calm river. And as a reminder to lower my jaw and keep more open space in the mouth, I can imagine myself standing on a cliff looking down at the water below. So the space between the river and the cliff is the space between my jaw and the roof of my mouth, if that makes sense. So that image serves 2 purposes. It gives me a visual reminder of the feeling of the accent, and it serves as a doorway to help me access the accent. Of course, one session is not enough to master all of this, so I'm going to have to continue working on this after the video is released. But I already feel more natural stepping into this accent, even if it's not perfect. And I think this helped me achieve my first partial success in this challenge.
Wait, what content do you make?
I make content about languages and dialects and things like that. So it's about linguistics.
Are you like one of those people that talk to like someone that's speaking in their language and then you shock them by speaking their language?
Not really. Not typically. I make sort of documentary videos about languages. Sort of.
You like people.
Right, like I research a language and then talk about its features in the video. That's typically what I do. Here are a couple of questions for you. First, in which 6 countries is German an official language? You don't have to name all 6, but name as many as you can. Where is German an official language?
Does Germany count?
Germany counts. Absolutely counts. Luxembourg's another one.
Let's do cheated.
And there's one more.
One more. Can we get a hint?
Starts with an S.
Switzerland.
Switzerland, you're right. Oh, there's one other, actually. Liechtenstein is the 6th one. So it's a small country next to Switzerland. All right, so that was a bit of a challenging question. One more. How many languages are spoken in the world?
Oh, wait, 1,093.
More than that.
Damn, what? How is there that many?
2,000.
2,000, even more. There are actually 7,000 languages in the world.
Jesus Christ.
Damn, I can only speak English. That's crazy.
All right, I have one other question. This question's a bit different. Based on the way I'm speaking, where do you think I'm from?
I'm going to say American. I think English.
Who thinks English?
I do.
You think I'm English? All right. So I'm actually from Canada, but
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah.
the challenge I'm doing at the moment is to see if I can adopt a sort of English accent with English pronunciation and speak to people in the UK and see if they believe me, to see if they believe that I'm from the UK. So I don't know how well I'm doing. What do you think?
If you said it, I'll believe it. You know?
If I said it, you'd believe it. All right.
Yeah.
So
I think the way how you pronunciate the words makes it sound like you speak proper English instead of like how people break it down now. Tuesday. But I think
Tuesday.
you pronounce it like proper, so I'd think that you'd be a higher class of English.
Like, does it sound actually like proper posh English, or does it sound like
you
I'm
sound
fake?
British, not English.
British, not English.
Because English is more like, well,
Chavia
obviously it's
now.
the same thing, but there's more like slang in English. But
Right.
when people they speak British, they usually sound a lot more like posh.
Right, so it's sort of more like an RP accent. I'm attempting to do an RP accent, but I don't know exactly how close I'm getting, you know.
What's an LP accent?
RP, received pronunciation. So it's sort of like the
Sorry.
quote-unquote standard accent, but there really is no standard, of course, but it's like the traditional standard.
Nah, you'd be a good voice actor.
You're saying.
I don't know, I'm pretty gullible, I believe it. But
All right.
I think the formality of how you speak as well matches it as well.
All right, I consider this a partial success. One of the three guessed that I was English, even though he clearly wasn't sure. So with that, I'm going to step back into my native accent on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm stepping away from the cliff. So this was quite an enlightening experience, and I learned a number of things. One thing I learned, or was reminded of, is that you can't just speak an accent based on an impression of how it sounds. You really need to learn the specific sounds of that accent and practice them all in isolation. This helped me achieve something in the neighborhood of an RP accent. But I was also reminded that it takes a lot of time and practice to make those sounds habitual, because while speaking to people I often missed certain sounds or I fell back into my Canadian accent for a moment without realizing it. I also learned that there's an overall oral quality to an accent, and that you need to pay attention to your oral posture in order to get closer to it. That's why I had to focus on lowering my jaw to create space in the mouth, and to let resonance come from down low rather than up above. And I also learned that an accent has a certain feeling to it, and associating that feeling with imagery can help you access the accent. This is probably something that's very applicable to learning other languages too. I've never been great at achieving a near-native accent in languages that I learn, but I noticed that people who learn languages with very authentic pronunciation are usually people who really identify deeply with the culture in which that language is spoken, and they wish to be a part of it rather than just observe it. They really seek to experience what it's like to be a person in that culture, and all of those feelings and memories of those experiences are connected with authentic pronunciation. In this challenge, I learned to kind of pronounce RP sounds, but to be honest, I don't really know enough about England or RP speakers to put myself in their shoes and speak authentically. One thing I think I can do about that is to immerse myself in more English TV and YouTube videos with a modern RP accent, so I can become more familiar with the people and the way they express themselves. I think that can help me with some of the more subtle but important aspects of speaking with that accent. Then I can associate that deeper familiarity with the physicality and the imagery that I talked about before. One more thing I learned from this video, which might be the most important thing, is that I spoke to people from England with a wide variety of English accents. And even though I was kind of expecting them to call BS on my fake accent, none of them did. They didn't say anything about my accent until I asked. It was quite a relief to know that people are quite tolerant of different accents, whether they be regional accents or second language speakers' foreign accents. That was an important reminder that it's okay to speak up even if I don't feel I can do it perfectly, and also that, well, English people aren't as cynical as they're sometimes made out to be. The question of the day. Have you ever learned a different accent or dialect of your own language? Did you ever reach a point where you felt you could speak with that accent or dialect authentically? Or how about with a different language you've learned? Have you ever achieved near-native pronunciation in a language you were learning? If so, what helped you accomplish that? Now it's time to give a shout out to all of the LangFocus Patreon supporters who make videos like this possible. I'd especially like to thank the ones whose names appear on the screen because they are the top tier Patreon supporters, so let's give them a round of applause. If you liked this video, you might also like this one right here. Click on the thumbnail to check it out.